Greetings, geeks. Welcome to episode 736 of Geeks in Space. I'm Rob Commander Taco Malda, and I am joined today, of course, by Chris DeBona.
Hi.
And Rob Roseboom.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, it's been some time since we spoke. Is everything different now?
All the summer activities happened.
I got, I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but I went out this weekend and got my traditional annual sunburn. It's not really showing up.
Oh,
but,
I thought you would purchase something and you were showing up.
No, check out that's the sunburn just left on my
from your watch.
From my watch hole, and I was only outside for 4 hours, and I never left the shade, and I was wearing suntan lotion, which I reapplied 3 times over that time span.
That's really something.
Yeah, you gotta be careful of your watch hole.
Yep.
In summer.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah, you don't want to develop any timeroids.
Yeah.
Timeroids?
Sure.
Ouch.
I actually like that, Chris. Timeroids.
I was trying to come up with like a hemorrhoid, but
yeah, got it.
Watch,
Yeah.
We got the portmanteau. It it opens more doors. It asks more questions than it answers.
It opens more orifices than you want to think about.
Yeah.
On your watch hole.
That's right. Well, let's see. The oldest story on the list is the bored Chinese housewife who spent years falsifying Wikipedia.
I missed this completely.
This was a Rob find.
This is a great.
Yeah, it's just like, and like from what I remember, I haven't read it, and it's been a while now. But from what I remember, it was like old history too. It wasn't like modern stuff. She spent like 15 years just subtly changing a whole bunch of facts about Russian history throughout time. Yeah, so good project, I guess.
It's a party.
So the way she got found out is someone was writing a book, I think, or something like that, and they were going through the Wikipedia history stuff, and they were like, "Wait a second, all this stuff is different," and then they started doing some comparison, and they found out that for 15 years this old Chinese woman was just bored and decided she'd rewrite Russian history.
Hey, why not? We all rewrite our own histories. It seems only fair that some of us
Sure.
rise to a position to rewrite, their nations.
Do you remember this classic Onion article?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wikipedia celebrates 750 years of American independence. That's right up there with the all-time favorites, which is what? Fuck it, we're going to 5 blades.
Yeah, which ended up being coming true.
And then there's another one, which is what? Nation where this continually happens, surprised that this continually happens.
Yeah.
Is that the other one? There's another one that I won't say while we're streaming.
Yeah, I'm thinking of another one of my favorites.
So Max Headroom is getting a reboot,
back?
and they've got apparently Frewer is like
Frewer's
on.
gonna do it? Awesome.
I mean, that guy will be in anything.
I mean,
He's a
he
working
will.
actor.
He's the hardest working actor in Vancouver. That's all I gotta say.
I don't think that guy is ever not
He was
being
in,
taped.
I mean, he lives his life in front of the camera. I mean,
Yeah.
it's true. He was on. He was Orphan Black. He was. I mean, just
He was like the hunter guy in Eureka for like 8 seasons or something.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he was the Predator in Prey.
Yeah, I don't actually have a.
I don't have any proof that he's not.
He
That's
could
all
be.
I gotta say.
I mean, with all that weird digital hologram stuff that Max Headroom has, maybe he does have an invisibility suit.
So
he was in Timeless. He was in.
this might be controversial, but was anyone missing Max Headroom?
Not really.
Were you sitting at home thinking, God, I wish there was more Max Headroom?
I bet you people who think they understand technology in the world are like, see, Max Headroom came true, man. And they're pining for his return. They'll comment on the wonders of TikTok. And
I remember the
it was
premiere.
a good show.
I remember the
right?
premiere, but I don't remember the rest of it.
It was about basically a rebel television station that was taken over by Max Headroom. He took over the programming, but there was this whole dystopian world outside That was actually okay.
I remember the meta context of that show as being like pretty decent, but like I never really cared in particular. I more remember him as like the pop icon that like gets parodied and shows up into Back to the Future movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And like Coke commercials.
Yeah. Once they started selling soda.
Yeah.
Right,
and the Chicago hacker thing where they hijacked the airwaves and got Max Headroom on the air.
Mm.
That's the other one. That's always the other piece of Max Headroom weirdness. Well, let's see. We've got the John Wick teaser trailer came out, which I guess whatever.
Hey, you know what happens in it? Keanu Reeves beats shoots.
Yeah, I bet he shoots a lot of people, and then
he gets hurt a lot, and you think that's the end of him because nobody could survive that, but he survives it. So
it'd be okay.
He's a superhero.
At some point, there will be a motorcycle. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and it's probably his personal brand of motorcycles. You know, it's like when Aviation Gin shows up in a Deadpool movie. You know?
And you know, since the Melanois showed up in the last installment, I'm sure there'll be Melanois in this, or maybe they'll up.
Is that the dogs?
Yeah.
Yeah, the dogs are back.
Oh.
Or at least dogs are back. I don't know if it's the same dogs.
It kind of reaches back in time and takes away the power of the dog being killed. You know,
by having more dogs show up as allies.
Dogs. Like, oh, you know, it turns out there's lots of dogs.
Dogs everywhere, man.
You know, maybe he overreacted
to the dog thing. Could have just got a new dog.
Yeah. And there'll be some muscle car, and I'm not saying they've become formulaic.
The thing that's weird to me is, isn't John Wick 3 basically set 72 hours after the events of the first movie, basically? So if they're continuing this, this guy's having like a really bad week.
He just needs a nap, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe John Wick 4, everything that happens to John Wick 4 could have been, resolved if they just let him have a nap, right?
Or here's the fall that. Ready? Here we go. Bump, bump.
Nope.
Wang,
it's fine.
Bang, boom.
No, he's cool.
Hey, he's fine. He's fine. No problem.
There was a mat on that floor.
Shake it off, man. Shake it off. And I'm like, come on. He be dead. I mean, I dislocated my shoulder going merely, 29 miles an hour on skis onto soft, beautiful snow.
Ooh.
And I've done it twice now. And, I know John Wick is tougher, smarter.
When he smashes into the fire escape railing with his ribs at 20 feet, that would have caused some issues, I think.
That's basically the same thing as Chris.
I fractured my rib 11 years ago, and it still hurts.
Yeah.
That's okay. He's got to go out and shoot a bunch of people in a mirror room tomorrow.
Bang.
Then he's going to have a knife fight in a bookstore. A bookstore and a knife fight.
Is there a bookstore knife fight in this
I don't know. I can't wait to see what they do.
I hope he has a flamethrower fight inside a fireworks factory. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, don't let the fireworks.
Next door to an olive oil company and a ball bearing company. And so everyone's always like, and it's all slippery and on fire.
And the world's biggest pile of oily rags.
Yes. I literally wrote it's a strong word, but I used to tell Franny these stories that were loosely based on How It's Made episodes. And like a bunch of forest animals go and they visit factories.
Fleam juice.
But so they visit factories, but they always end with like, the big lummoxy bear like turns and knocks over a machine and it causes chaos, and she loved it. She just peels with laughter and falls asleep. And one of them was the Posy, Rosie, Flopsy, Mopsy, all these kid names for the different animals. Fingers the spider. Anyway, they all go to this, fireworks factory, which is next door to the olive oil factory, which is next door to the ball bearing factory, and of course it all becomes a big conflagration. And as they're running away, and everyone's fine, of course, but yeah,
they've done that gag like on The Simpsons and stuff.
Yeah, it's a classic.
It's a good one.
Yeah. I should really expose those. They're all in a blog somewhere.
Sure. There's been a series of stories that actually I don't even know where it ended up, which is Russia was dropping out of the space station in 2024, or maybe not. And there was like a bunch of stories saying it was true and a bunch of stories saying it was fake, or that they would actually be sticking around for a decade, or until some other deadline. I don't know what's true or false anymore, which I guess is symptomatic of everything that I read on the internet now. But I just wanted to let you guys know that Russia is either dropping out of the International Space Station or not.
Yeah, it's not altogether clear. Like, they were going to drop off and they're going to build their own, but then they're like, oh, building stuff's kind of hard for us right now.
Right. What with, we're pretending that the sanctions are still happening, even though they're really not happening.
And we have to rebuild a quarter or half of our tank force now. So metal's going over there.
And where we used to do a lot of that is the place we're bombing right now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Oops. Whoopsie. Oh boy.
But one place that's not afraid to pretend to build things is Saudi Arabia, building their 100-kilometer sideways tower, which is just so dumb.
It's 1.5 kilometers tall and 1,000 kilometers long. They say it's going to cost $1 trillion.
So much more than that. That's not real.
500 meters tall and run for 170 kilometers.
That's not possible.
This is dumb. And they have their dumb super yachts down here, and they're dumb.
Oh, it looked like to me the super yachts were holding them up.
Oh, no. They're towing it into place.
Like, this is just a giant movie screen, and then there's just one dude sitting out in the desert watching a movie on that.
Watching Avatar.
I think this is happening.
Listen, I like science fiction a lot. Y'all know that, right?
Yep.
And this is pretty sci-fi and cool. It's also deeply stupid.
Yeah, it doesn't seem plausible. But I mean, that said, some of those super sky
perspective, sure, I can see it, but
imagine how much this would cost if they built it in California.
Yeah, but it can only be made with slave labor from Nepal.
The volume of mass that would require is I bet that's more volume than exists in big cities, unless it's only a foot wide.
Probably.
Yeah.
Because 500 feet tall is way bigger than most buildings.
Yeah, the Burj Khalifa is 829 meters tall.
Right. So this is, even though it's only half as tall as a really high skyscraper, it would be like having 1,000 of them right next to each other in a row. So this is absolutely more interior volume than exists in any city, right?
I'm not sure, because it isn't that wide, right? I guess the city you have all that space in 3 directions. This is just,
true.
This is very thin compared to an entire city.
It's about 2 times as tall as the Hoover Dam. I don't know what they're thinking.
It's nonsense, but it's very cool. It's like
it's
when
not, it's fun.
It's like when we look at all those
like a rendering project.
It's like when we look at the concept art of the space stations that they thought that we would be building when they were painting concept art in the 70s. It's like, oh yeah, if we continue to put money into this, this is what we get. See, that is just that does not make any sense to me.
And then they have a rooftop garden with little buildings on it or some shit like that. This, is there a national university that has hey, what's your dumb project for the kingdom?
This feels,
and also it's mirrored. I'm picturing some guy in his little Piper Cub, like a bird. It's like they're gonna have to put a frit across it so that birds don't ram into it constantly. So basically, all along here is like a net to catch all the stuff that hits the side of the building.
Yeah. Well, think of how many people it employ to keep it clean.
Oh, right? Good God.
Thousands of wall wipers.
They probably have no. They have a science fiction electrostatic.
That's true.
Auto cleaning system.
No, I bet they have just a giant wiper that runs the whole length of the thing back and forth all day long.
But at an angle, so there's these weird curved parts at the top where the wiper doesn't hit.
Yeah, and then an alarm goes off to let you know that they're going to spray at the time, so you should take shelter. No matter how much they try, a little bit of the fluid goes over the top into the city.
Yeah. They call those blue days. Yeah. Be sure to cover your watch orifice before a blue day.
This is I'm not sure that I'd be willing to call this a chorizo level hoax, But there is definitely
Oh, boy,
some
that was
some shenaniganery. I don't know if I'd put up the chorizo
yeah,
story as a
everyone's seen
link.
it by
It's
now.
yeah, that was a week ago,
It's
but
fantastic.
but doesn't that like that says so much. First of all, that a respected scientist would do that. Second of all, that everybody would fall for it, and then at least they came clean and like told everybody they were dumb. But
they did very quickly too. They're like, no, I was just messing around.
But it's different when a respected scientist is just messing around than like random dudes on Twitter. You know, like that's violating a certain level of trust.
I guess, but it's also like
let's just have a
like
great summer.
that dude. He may be a scientist, but he's a person, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think it endears them more that he would do that than losing trust in astronomy.
That's true.
Rob Malda can only have serious scientists.
Only serious, very serious scientists.
Otherwise, into the prison with them.
It would be different, I suppose.
They have to go live on the line in Saudi Arabia from now on.
That's right. Washing windows until you die.
No, he's a dryer. That's the worst job there. They have to dry. He's out there, with a coffee filter, so there's no streaks.
A chamois. He's hanging from ropes.
Just forever.
With a chamois.
And maybe if I had used like a beef sausage.
This sucks. This sucks.
Oh man, I didn't mean it.
We talked about deep thoughts with the deep last week, right? So, but that was a funny bit. Fact check: NASA did not issue a warning against masturbating in space. I don't know how much we want to talk about this article, but you should read it.
Speaking of sausage,
it's pretty funny. Speaking of chorizo in space,
chorizo. They should not have chorizo.
Nope.
And cleaning the windows.
No, this whole story just came out of like some jokey comments that got taken a little too literally. But it is a funny one because how often do you get to have an article that you read where there's actually like a pull-out chunk of text saying, "So is it possible to masturbate in space?" Asking the hard-hitting questions.
So what's funny about this is they have this stock photo that they got from iStock, and it says the photo credit line may appear like this.
It might.
That's charming. And this is not a spaceship in use by anyone in any space program ever.
No, that's a CGI rendering.
No, that's the chronic masturbation suit.
Yeah.
So they're worried about you.
Easy access,
Got a little flap.
Yeah, you see the buckles?
Yep.
Yeah, those are sex buckles.
Sex Buckles. That sounds like a good name for a rock band. Ladies and gentlemen, Sex Buckle.
Or a bad name, but a college name.
That's to anchor yourself. So
yeah. You don't want to be bouncing off. Otherwise, as we all know, if you dispense an amount of mass, it creates thrust in the opposite direction. And you don't want to start going very, very slowly in the opposite direction. I've created 1 gram of thrust. All right. Got that out of our system.
How many newtons does no?
Yep.
All right. I feel like I'm Stephen Toast. Matt Berry's. Toast.
Well, we should call that out to the Discord. They're gonna need to compute how many newtons of thrust it would create.
I mean, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Exactly.
Right? So as you have to be really careful with your thrust vectoring. But
and in this case, the equal reaction is people going, "Gross, don't."
Ew. Oh, how about no?
No.
Like, why? Yeah.
That's right. All right, so we got a story on there, which is just a funny one. A passenger fined $1,874 for not declaring McMuffins in their luggage to Australia.
That's a bit much.
Yeah, that's the expensive McMuffin.
Yeah.
I mean,
and also, why is he saving them
in his luggage?
They're not good later,
No, the pancakes in particular.
Yeah.
Assuming this is his actual dessert and not just
stock photo.
Insert travel photo credit here.
Yeah.
But it's in a aircraft looking.
Yeah, it's in a tub that makes it look official.
And CNN, they wouldn't.
No, they only are telling truth.
Yeah.
That's right.
On the socials. Oh, wait.
That's right. All right, so the next one
Spam.
the spam story, protecting spam. This is just a story about how how when you go to like a Circuit City or whatever, the smaller electronics are in like lucite boxes with
Circuit
keys and
City
stuff.
or a Piggly Wiggly or
Yeah.
some other bankrupt.
Well, apparently in this place now they're having to put cans of spam in the lucite boxes because of spam crime. So I just wanted to bring this up because this is the first time that like spam has like ever really come up in a story that doesn't involve spam for me.
I love spam. We have spam with Subi. We get the low sodium spam because it's a little too much salt.
It's very salty. I had a can of spam on the dashboard of my car from basically the time I bought my first car until the time I sold my first car. So for like 3 years, my rust bucket beat up car had a can of spam in it, and then at the end I did not dare eat it because it had been sitting in the dashboard of a car for 3 years, and I can't imagine what would have happened inside of that can.
Probably nothing. It's surrounded in the protective gel.
I mean, maybe, but also
there's so much sodium, nothing can live in it.
It also got heated up to 150 degrees every day and then back down to 60 every night.
It's probably the most tender of spam.
It's like sous vide spam.
Yeah. Also, it's interesting to me that you said small electronics, and the first thing I was thinking about was condoms and cough medicine being underneath the lucite containers. We're just shopping for different stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. They keep condoms in lucite now?
Yeah, most of the time they're in some locked case. Kind of like magic cards.
Well, I mean, you've
that
seen
makes sense.
The Bear Grylls show. Condoms are really useful in the wilderness.
Sure.
So if you're homeless, condoms, it's how you hold things, how you protect things.
That makes sense. But again, I'm not generally in the market for their intended purpose. For so many reasons.
Honestly, I have to admit, I would love a spam in a box like this. It's like I would want to steal the whole thing. Like I wouldn't steal spam, but I'd steal the whole thing, and that's like
then
the thing you put on the counter.
And if you're having a dinner party, you could bring it out in the case like that.
Emergency spam.
Outrageously funny.
And be like, for dinner tonight, only the finest locked away spam.
Aged 12 years in the back of Rob's car.
We once bought a piece of luggage overseas. We needed an extra piece. Anyway, they forgot to remove the little tag for stealing stuff. The big ones, the big chunky ones. So I had to basically go at that thing with like bolt cutters.
Yeah.
And I ended up like wrapping the stupid handle with like tinfoil and going at it with a Dremel. Finally, it was just, I was so annoyed. That's all I'm gonna say. But a homeless person who steals spam, he's probably got like a tool in his keychain. He goes, oh.
Yep, spam key.
Spam key.
Yep. The next one on the list is Tesla ransoming a car owner by cutting a third of their battery. This is actually a weird story because there was like some part transfers, and but it did look like they took away this guy's legitimately purchased parts.
So a guy bought a used car, and the used car had a battery replacement. The battery in his P90 had been replaced with a P60 battery with the optional P90 increase over the phone because it's all they had. So they increased it over the phone, and then he sold it and sat around for a couple of years. And not sat around, but he drove it for a couple of years. And then they're like, "Oh, we fixed the problem." And he's like, "What problem?" Right? And they eventually fixed it on the 27th to return to its original state.
But he had sold the car, so it's like you buy your car with one set of miles, and then your gas tank is half the size. That's crazy.
You buy a car, you think you're getting a car with a certain range, and nope. And what they also did? They shut off the center display with all the video games because.
That's just smart.
And they also turned off the heated seats.
Ouch.
They wanted to be like BMW.
Yeah, they want to make it just miserable. They really wanted to just regret the purchase of a Tesla as much as possible.
Don't buy a used one, buy a new one, you jerk.
Elon Musk needs to sell 6 billion shares of Tesla the day after his earnings call.
Yeah, good God.
Okay, we haven't talked about this here, but this is an interesting one. This is the Batgirl and, of course, the Scoob movie in the Warner Brothers Discovery Channel merger.
No one cares about Scooby-Doo. It's the worst. It's always been the worst. I hate Scooby-Doo so freaking much.
All right, no, I get it, but they also spent like $100 million making it, and a bunch of
Not
people worked really
Scooby-Doo.
hard.
They spent like $4 and some probably fairly high quality hashish oil.
Hashish oil. So yeah, this is just a weird story. You know, hundreds of millions of dollars of art.
It is weird because it's not like suddenly DC feels like, oh, well, we can't ship crap to the end user,
right?
Well, and that's there's a bunch of stories floating around on this one. One was that they claim that it was because it was testing poorly, but then the other story is that apparently Shazam 2 and Black Adam both were testing the same. But also, I guess Batgirl was originally budgeted and shot to be put on HBO Max and not a theatrical release anyway, so it probably looked cheap.
Yeah.
It's CWE,
and they're getting rid of HBO Max.
Yeah, they're combining it with Discovery Plus, and now it's going to be, you know,
Blumper.
The Sopranos and Deadliest Catch are the same show now.
Blumper Plus.
Where they just go out into the New Jersey wetlands and they try to catch fish.
Yep. Euphoria has a lot more Finding Bigfoot content in it now.
Yeah. Well. Oh, speaking of which, Finding Bigfoot, Mr. Rosebud.
Oh yeah, you got to tell us about our. Do we get a report?
Well, I guess.
Did you go to the hidden archive secret animals thing?
We know we're just setting you up.
Did you not see the video I posted of the Bigfoot calling contest?
No.
Oh, it's in the Discord. Maybe I'll make sure to send it your way.
Oh my goodness.
In the channel
or in our chit-chatting channel?
I can't remember where I dropped it.
Okay.
It's in the Geek Mutant one. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, it was different than I thought it was going to be. So for those of you who don't know, there was a Michigan Bigfoot conference here in a town about 20 miles away. So
splitting the difference between us.
Yeah. So I went to take it all in. Yeah, there it is. And yeah, it was in like this little outbuilding behind the Comfort Inn in Chelsea, where they usually host, it looks like maybe anniversary parties or small wedding receptions. The
Not big ones.
No, the whole place smelled a little bit like weed and body odor.
Wow.
And was more like a swap meet really than any conference I've ever attended, because all the speakers basically had a little table set up where they would sell their t-shirts, their Bigfoot casts, their merchandise and what have you. And there was a Bigfoot calling contest where the grand prize
Bigfoot calls.
They did. Well, yeah.
The winner should be the one that actually gets a Bigfoot to show up.
Yeah, that really,
that's the right.
Me. You know. But instead, grand prize was $50, so I didn't enter. If it was more, I was talking about it with my wife while we were there. There it is. There's the little building.
Is that the building?
That's the building.
Wow, that's this thing here.
Yeah, that thing right there.
Okay.
And the best thing was, halfway during the conference, they'd evidently double booked. So they had to move everyone to one side and pull out the partitions so that these people could have food in the other side of the room. And that happened to be when the Bigfoot calling contest went on.
Oh.
So I didn't get a chance to sneak in there and see what these people's dinner was like, while 20 feet away, there were, 20 people screaming as loud as they could.
God, I hope it was a wedding reception.
Yeah. So it was
I
that was fantastic.
The Elks Lodge. They're like, are they making elk sounds? You know.
there was at like the first or second PenguaCon, there was the other one conference room in the entire facility was a wedding reception. So the entire place was filled with cosplaying weirdos, and then there was a wedding party, and they were so, you like could see in their faces, oh, this is not what we wanted.
No.
Also, I found amazingly the speakers were not very good.
Yeah.
And they couldn't really tell a story. Like I think I can tell a pretty decent story, and these people could not do that. So it was just different than I expected.
So
A lot smaller, a lot more like a flea market.
Yeah.
Then there wasn't a lot of science there, gentlemen. Let me tell you that.
What?
No,
Yeah.
no. I mean, and I'm talking
that's
about
their
like
whole thing.
I'm talking about like biologists or like like people who know the woods,
Yeah.
like DNR folk.
Yeah.
But there was sort of none of that.
There wasn't a single like ex-DNR guy who's like, I saw it every day. They told me to shut down any Bigfoot knowledge.
One lady told a story that is exactly what would happen if you run into a black bear in the woods. A lot of times if black bears are scared or something, they will snap their jaws together. And it is amazingly loud if you've never experienced it in real life. And gives you a lot more respect for just how strong that bite is, because it literally sounds like two pieces of wood snapping together.
Bone snapping.
And they'll do that, grunt, and do a little charge, and they'll make a noise. So this lady is describing this to a T, and she's in Pennsylvania, in blueberry country, where there's tons of black bears stuffing themselves on blueberries. And so she had this experience, and instead of being like, oh, this is a black bear, it was, this is Bigfoot. I never saw anything. I heard it. So yeah, it was just that over and over again.
The next on the list is the Alien TV series. I just wanted to mention this for a couple of reasons. Noah Hawley is the creator of Legion, and that kind of led me anyway into mentioning Sandman. And have you guys? How far are you into it now?
I haven't even started.
All right.
Me either.
All right then. Then I'll wait and we could talk about it at some other time. But that Legion is actually kind of the show that like this reminded me of. I'm only three or four episodes in, but it's got a lot of that pretension that Legion had.
Alien does?
No, Sandman.
Did he work on Sandman?
Yep, Noah Hawley.
Ridiculous.
No, it was just interesting.
It's not in his IMDb credits.
I thought Hawley did Legion.
No, well, he did Legion. He didn't do Sandman.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I was just thinking about how Legion reminds me in ways of Sandman when I was watching it. It's got a little bit of that hubris, but I mean, Sandman should, just because of what it was and when it was. But I'm not sure about it.
Yeah, me either.
I kind of like it, but I don't know if it's good or not. I'm looking forward to seeing how they resolve it.
Huge fan of the comics, and
for sure.
But yeah, I've read sort of mixed reviews on it so far. And I guess it's a little bit better that it's a comic instead of just a story, because I think the problem is that it's really hard to make a really good movie out of a good story, because you've already decided in your head what those things look like and what those interactions are.
Yeah.
And it's hard for an actor to hit what you expect, right? But if you have a really shitty story, you could probably make a great movie out of that, because there's no expectation.
The other piece of it, I guess, is that just like a year ago, I listened to the Audible. And that was extraordinarily good. So, and like I think I might have enjoyed that a little more than this. At least
so you
far.
Started watching it, or you haven't?
I'm 3-4 episodes in.
Oh, okay. Have you hit 24/7 yet?
Have I what?
Have you hit 24/7 yet?
No.
The one in the diner. That's apparently like. I mean, when that happened.
When you're making that face,
emailed the person on the production.
Are you saying good or bad?
No. I don't know.
Well, you just made a face, and I wasn't sure what your face was.
It's the most intense comic that DC has ever put out.
Sure. I like the visual effects on the Corinthian a lot. And the thing that I'll say is there's visually something weird about it. And I read that they built tons of sets for it. But like the way the colors are saturated and stuff, like it's got a look to it that doesn't look right. Like I guess I expected Sandman to be softer, like dreamier, perhaps. And things are really like maybe even overly sharp and overly crisp sometimes.
Well, he's got those sharp cheekbones. You don't want to take that away from the viewer.
Take a blade to you. Anyway, we'll come back to that in a week or two. When
like you got hit in the face with a shovel. I mean, it's like,
I'm definitely going to watch the rest of it. But it is not the slam dunk that something like maybe Peacemaker was a few months ago. Or even like this season of Umbrella Academy, which I thought was really good most of the way through. Let's see. We've got the synthetic embryos. I didn't read this one. Who is this?
I posted it. It's yeah, I mean, I can't really wrap it up in a quick summary other than what the title says, right?
They formed an embryo-like structure with intestinal tract, beginning of a brain, and a beating heart of a mouse. So
they better not let that die.
Well,
so this has never gone wrong in any movie or story you've ever read. So I'm sure it'll be fine.
Life begins at mitosis. Anyway, yeah.
Life begins in the petri dish, just like Mom and Dad wanted.
Just like Mom and Dad wanted.
Well, there is the whole idea. There's a couple different. So there's a horror movie about cloned people that it turns out they don't have souls, so they're all evil. That one is kind of interesting. There's also one. I can't remember. Never mind. Let's go on.
Well, I mentioned this in the channel a while ago, but there's a movie going around called Crimes of the Future, which is a Cronenberg movie.
Right.
It's the most messed up thing I've seen in a while. And if you want to see something super messed up and super like body horror weird, it's worth your time.
You already said Cronenberg, though.
Yeah.
Well, I know what it was. It was a story about how synthetically made life forms had no rights because they weren't God-given. So there was all these clones, all these different things that were second-class citizens just because of how they were made.
That's kind of like what was the
Oculus with Karen Gillan?
Yeah, the movie that just came out, Duel.
Yep.
With Karen Gillan. Duel, not Oculus.
Is that what it's called?
Yep. Which was like one of those movies which is really good and not good at the same time. Like it was so close to being great. Yeah. It's Schrodinger's film. We've got a restaurant that you can go to eat cat food inspired dishes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about all that.
Yeah, gross.
Gatto Bianco.
I know what my cats eat. I don't want to eat it.
Is everything served out of like a little tin?
You have to beg for hours.
There's a certain amount of cat hair that comes with every meal.
Yeah, you have to follow your waiter for like an hour and a half. Like, come on, I'm hungry. Come on now. How about now? Where's my food? Now? Is my food ready? That's what it's like in my house.
Oh, you can enjoy a complimentary tasting menu for free? Great.
Roadhouse is getting a remake starring Jake Gyllenhaal.
God, this sounds like a terrible idea.
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, some things don't need to be updated.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, it was a perfect movie.
Can we not respect the Swayze now that he's gone?
Yeah.
This is what we do to his legacy?
It's like they're exhuming his body.
Yep.
And they're violating it. It's just like, come on, let the perfect movie be a perfect movie.
I wonder if they'll age him and put him in CGI. At the
very end. Oh,
sure.
God, no.
Nods his head in approval.
He's going to float away from the spaceship that Roadhouse is secretly underneath.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. If they took it and they took it in a wildly different direction, like you'd think it's just a bar, but it's really,
it ends like the world's end.
It's taken place after the apocalypse, and this is really just a pocket of humanity in the center of the earth.
Mad Max.
They built a roadhouse in, of course.
Well, I mean, isn't that what Master Blaster and Thunderdome was? I mean, it's already been done. So they have to do something even wackier.
Even better. Come on, The last thing that I had on the list was
Uncreative garbage,
it
ruining
was just
our memories.
I gave us something cute to watch that we already.
It's a kitty.
It's a kitty, but it's a kitty that's paralyzed, and they gave it wheels.
Paralyzed? How to get paralyzed?
I think it's sick that you think paralyzed animals are cute, Rob.
No, they gave it wheels. Look how cute. He's got the zoomies.
Yeah, but they haven't secured his back legs. They're just dragging.
I know, but that's how it kind of works.
No, that's not how it works. The legs have to be up. You don't leave the legs down to drag and get.
They're building it.
Down into nubbins.
They're building it.
Is it just Lego?
They're building it. They're helping that kitty. Eventually, he'll grow and he'll be able to.
Will he be able to walk again?
I don't think so. I think he's sick.
No.
You think he's doomed?
I think that's his deal, and they're just trying to figure out how to let him move around. But he seems happy. Maybe I'm a little biased because I've had to have a cat go into a vet like 100 times in the last month. I'm getting really sick of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was the last thing that we had on the zone. We caught up.
What? We caught up?
We could talk about Prey.
Yeah. Have you watched it yet? Is it good?
I have.
Yeah. Rob and I both saw it.
And
so, like, I'm reading all kinds of rave reviews about it and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know. For my opinion, maybe I had too high expectation because I read how awesome it was before I actually saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fine, but I don't know that it's better than the first one, to be honest with you.
Oh, definitely not.
It's probably the best of the ones they made after ish, but that's a very, very low bar to achieve.
Although I think Predator 2 is still pretty good.
I think I like the idea of Predator 2, but Busey bothers me. There's no way Gary Busey is part of any government thing that needs to be quiet. That's where I'm at with that.
Yeah.
So,
but it's no like Alien versus Predator or something like those movies are just horrible.
Like that garbage. The special effects are a little bit wonky, particularly with the animals, not that great. But there are a couple of. I kind of had mixed feelings about it because there's a couple throwback lines to things like at one point one of the characters says, "If it bleeds, we can kill it," from the original.
Yep.
So I'm like, and then of course
I laughed. I thought that was awesome.
I thought it was kind of funny too, but like, yeah, and the frickin' mud. Like, when are they gonna get over?
I liked that.
Like, hopefully the Predators never land on a mud planet because it seems to be a glaring hole in their defenses.
For sure.
All you need to kill a Predator is a ample supply of mud.
You got any mud?
I really liked it, but I don't think that it was as good as the reviews.
So it was fine.
Absolutely.
It's
fine to watch.
It's fine.
I thought it was technically really well done. I thought the lead performer was really good. I actually thought that thematically, so this will be a little spoilery. Ambalu, if you don't want spoilers for Prey, about halfway through they introduce beaver trappers. And
the French.
Yeah. And I thought what I thought was really cool is that they then give you like 3 different hunter prey relationships, kind of like 3 with like different reasons for it, like just thematically. I thought that was really interesting and really well done.
For sure they tried to elevate
the
story beyond just here's a giant alien monster hunting people. Like,
right.
It's a very common theme about, even the main character's journey into trying to be a respected member of her tribe and being a hunter is sort of the journey of that predator itself, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of those things mingling together, but at the end of the day, it's a movie about a giant bounty hunting alien coming here to kill things, right? So it's never going to be Macbeth. You know what I'm saying? So,
but enjoyable, well crafted, well executed, just not quite the rave that I think that it's getting the hype for, but it's like a 95-minute or something action movie that never gets boring, and that's great.
At least they didn't make it too long.
And some new sort of Predator weapons and gear,
Yeah.
which is kind of interesting. A few of the same ones, kind of a hybrid. It looks like, while his arsenal is still highly technologically advanced, it isn't quite as advanced as the Predator that you see in the original movie. Like his weapons aren't as high tech.
Interesting.
So I thought that was kind of neat.
Definitely worth a watch.
Yeah.
If
If you liked Predator, you should definitely watch Prey.
Yeah. Do we have anything else on our list before we bail?
I don't think so.
All right, gentlemen. Then let us say goodbye to Robert Roseboom.
Goodbye.
And to Chris DeBona.
See ya.
I was Rob Commander Taco Malda. That was episode 376. No, that was 736. I don't even remember. It's more than 3. Geeks in Space. Bye.